This Mercury retrograde is happening in the third house for me, and it's also my Mercury return, so I'm going to take this intro as an opportunity to share a silly moment that serves as an example of retrograde activity. I've been podcasting for over 5 years now, which is wild because it's almost half of the time I spent in my career as working as a scientist. Time isn't real apparently, but anyway, I've been podcasting for over 5 years now, and I've gained some solid experience and equipment, at least in my mind. I've taught myself, I do everything in-house, it's all me, and I won't bore you with the details, but this retrograde has taught me that I've been using my mixer entirely wrong and making it so I had to do so much more work for myself than I would have if I had just been using the mixer properly. I tell you this silly moment because it's a great example of how retrogrades can save us from our own foolishness. Is it fun to learn that I've been making this so much harder on myself? No. But am I glad I had a light bulb moment thanks to Mercury shaking at my third house realm? Abso-freaking-lutely. Retrogrades aren't always doom and gloom. They make us rethink our mental processes and can actually be an opportunity for closure or problem solving through rehashing a situation. Now, does that open the door for other things like texts out of the blue and exes coming back? It sure does. But that's not all a retrograde is good for. We're in week 2 of Mercury's retrograde starting this week, and it dips back into Scorpio on Tuesday. So keep riding the mercurial wave and use it as a means to pivot, change, or be inspired, at least while it's in Sagittarius. That all changes when Mercury saunters back into Scorpio. But let's get into the forecast before I yammer us into a tangent to nowhere. This week is highly focused on the realm of Scorpio. This is because we have a couple key events taking place right at the tail end of Scorpio season. On Friday, the sun does ingress into Sagittarius, and Sagittarius season will be in full swing. But like I said, there's a heavier focus on Scorpio because of all the energy that precedes the sun's ingression. There's the new moon in Scorpio, Mercury ingressing back into Scorpio, and a Mercury Cazimi. The Cazimi and new moon actually happen on the same day. The sun, moon, and Mercury are all going to be at 28 degrees of Scorpio on Thursday, which is the day before Sagittarius season begins. So yeah, I'd say that even though Sagittarius season begins this week, we're having quite a farewell party for Scorpio season, and we need to hone in on that area of our lives that Scorpio rules just one last time. Mercury moving from mutable fire to fixed water is a huge change in the retrograde energy as well. I was saying in the intro how we needed to stay flexible and pivot, but that's when Mercury is in Sagittarius. When it ingresses back into Scorpio early this week, the modality changes, so the way we go about working with the retrograde energy needs to change as well. Because modality is how a sign takes action, and based on how a sign takes action, that's based on how we should take action. Instead of being flexible, we actually need to be a little more rigid. Fixed water is stagnant water. It doesn't like to be disturbed. When Mercury comes back to Scorpio, we need to be rethinking how we stand firm in that area of our lives. We need to get more serious, contemplate something deeper, and sink into that area of our lives in a way that maybe we haven't before. Maybe a way that was scary or unattainable, but now we can. Just something that allows us to go deeper. That sinking feeling starts early in the week, and as the week progresses, the new moon and the Cazimi come into play. The Cazimi is going to highlight Mercury's agenda in Scorpio and give it a major boost. Mercury is also no longer in detrimental dignity when it's in Scorpio, so that paired with being bolstered by being at the heart of the sun, we're primed for, I don't want to say profound because that makes it have a lot of pressure, but in a way we are primed for a realization within the realm of Scorpio. Communication and our mental landscape may be in reverse, but the Cazimi is lighting the way towards the end of the week. Epiphanies, realizations, new information, as well as dislodged emotions, because this is Scorpio, dislodged emotions can also play a role in guiding you towards solutions or ways to harness more power within the realm of Scorpio. The reason I say dislodged emotions is because of fixed water. Fixed water is being disturbed by this retrograde. It's being disturbed by the Cazimi, by the new moon. There's a lot of disruption to that area. I always talk about Scorpio as kind of a bog body, and I don't know if anybody knows what a bog body is. I'm sure some of you do. But the bog body is like when something dies in a bog, it goes down and it gets mummified. So this week is kind of like bringing those bog bodies to the surface and looking at them and saying like, oh man, there was good info in this bog body and maybe I should use it. The illumination of Mercury's intent and agenda by the Cazimi can be capitalized on through the energy of the new moon that's happening at the same time. So this week is really unfurling the red carpet within the realm of Scorpio for those bog bodies to come to the surface. It's a time for us to have intense realizations, create avenues for deeper connections, and to maybe even start something new via what the Cazimi brings to light. As soon as Mercury ingresses back into Scorpio on Tuesday, it's a Mercury and Scorpio-centered week. So really, we have Monday, and it's still kind of Scorpio-centered, but come Tuesday, it's all Mercury and Scorpio. If you take nothing else away from this week's forecast, it's that you need to be hyper-focused on the area that Scorpio rules for you, make room for growth, new realizations, and thinking about things in a way that can potentially change the trajectory of this area of your life for quite a while. The day before the Cazimi, there are some confusing aspects with Mercury and the outer planets. Mercury is opposing Uranus and trine Neptune leading up to the Cazimi and the new moon. This is going to cause some interesting, if not disruptive, energy that can bleed into the Cazimi and the new moon itself. The realizations that we have might not be what we thought they were going to be. Those bog bodies that come to the surface might not contain what we thought they would. And that's kind of the point of a realization though, right? It bonks you over the head. If you get bonked over the head this week, take some time to think about it. Try not to see the mental disruption as solely an annoyance or a bad thing. Really look into why it's so disruptive and what you can do differently to prevent or integrate the energy or information. We'll be thinking outside the box, and we'll be highly imaginative around the time of the Cazimi and the new moon. This can lead to us bursting our own bubble, but when that bubble pops, we'll see a new reality that we can actually sink into and begin to work towards. And some of us might not even experience a bubble bursting. Some of us might just be hit over the head with a great idea, or we finally see the answer that was staring at us all along. Whatever the case may be for you personally, be open to new information or ways of thinking. We're not always super open to new stuff in the realm of Scorpio. So right now is a really good time to open up and let new stuff in. Fixed water does not like to be disturbed, so the opening up is not super fun. So once we connect the dots, once we make a change or integrate the information, we need to get back to center so the realm of Scorpio can regain composure. I've harped on Mercury because it really is the one bringing the ruckus this week, but the sun has its own aspects that are important, and it's also a key player in both the Cazimi and the new moon. The sun will be trine Jupiter and Saturn at the beginning of the week. The trines wane as the week goes on, but they do leave a mark on the events that happen later on. The sun being harmonically influenced by both the Titans, it really adds to the power and the authority that the Cazimi and new moon are going to have. Now, mind you, both Jupiter and Saturn are retrograde. Actually, every aspect the sun is making on the day of the Cazimi and new moon will be with a retrograde planet, including Neptune and Uranus. It's safe to say that we're in the midst of a major transformative moment within the water houses, but especially Scorpio. This Cazimi will likely bring more inward change than outward change. We're changing how we feel about the themes within the water houses. I go into more detail about this change of heart in my weekly horoscopes and how to utilize that change of heart in my new moon horoscopes because things are shifting within fixed water. And that doesn't happen often because it's fixed. The other water houses coming in with their own retrograde energy and communicating with the sun means it's an integral shift to our core selves. I know all of this sounds really intense and you got to do something crazy and make a change, but just take it as it comes. Enjoy the last week of Scorpio season. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. We'll have plenty of time to party when Sagittarius season takes off, just make sure you're paying attention to what's going on within the water houses before you run off and move into mutable fire. Thank you for tuning into this week's forecast. If you want a more detailed look at what this week's astro weather holds for you personally, go to my website, moonmattersastrology.com, and sign up to receive my zine. You can also find me on Patreon by searching for Moon Matters. The best way to keep up to date with my work or to book a reading with me is to sign up for my mailing list on my website. I'll meet you back here next week, but until next time, later days.